Okay, so let's have a look at the 2018 exam paper question 8 for stock valuation for Weston Limited. So 3 parts to this question. Calculate the value of the closing stock using the first in, first out method or FIFO method. Prepare a trading account for the year ended 31st of 12, 2017. And then calculate how the concept of prudence applies to the valuation of closing stock. So let's look at the first one. So first thing we need to do is calculate our purchases. So how much is our purchases in units and what was the value of those purchases. Then we're going to calculate the credit sales, how many units we sold on credit and the value of them. Cash sales then, how many units we sold on cash sales and the value of them. And then those figures then are going to help us calculate the units for our closing stock, and then we'll use those units then to calculate what is the value of our closing stock. So the first thing we're going to do is do our purchases and how much the purchases are in units and how much they are in money terms or value. So our purchase and credits then we got 4,500, we got 2,500, we got 3,000, and we got 1,500. So we're just taking these figures here, 4,500, 2,500, 3,000 and 1,500. And then we're going to multiply each of them by the value or how much they're worth. So we multiply the 4,500 by 8. We're going to multiply the 2,500 by 7. We're going to multiply the 3,000 by 6. And then we're going to multiply the 1,500 by 5. And that's going to give the value for each one of those units. So 4,500 by 8. 2,500 by 7, multiply 3,000 by 6, and multiply the 1,500 by 5. Now we're going to add these up then to get our total units that we've purchased. And then we're going to add up each of these figures here to get the total amount of our purchases. So 36,000 plus 17,500 plus 18,000 plus 7,500. So we got our purchases. We found out what's the total amount of purchases we had, and we found out what's the value of those total amount. And we're going to use them, one, in our trading account for part 2, and also these units for purchase of 11,500. We're going to use that to help us calculate our closing stock figure. Second part then, we're going to look at our sales. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to take our sales units for our credit sales and for cash sales and find out what the value of them are. So our credit sales, we got 1,000, we got 2,000, we got 1,500, and we got 1,000. We got 1,000. And then we're going to multiply them by 10, multiply by 11, 2,000 by 11, 1,500 then, multiply by 13, and our 1,000 then, multiply by 12. So all what we're doing is we're taking the figures that were given in the question for our sales, for our credit sales, these are credit sales, just putting them into a little table to help us calculate what are our credit sales in units and the amount for each one. So 1,000 multiplied by 10, we've got 2,000 multiplied by 11, we've got 1,500 multiplied by 13, and we've got 1,000 multiplied by 12. And then we're just going to add these up to find out what is our total credit sales in units. So 1,000 plus 2,000 plus 1,500 plus 1,000. And then we're going to add the amounts for each one that we've calculated to find out what's the total value of our sales and get 63,500. And then we're going to do the exact same then for our cash sales. So we've got 1,200 units in cash, or that we sold in cash for cash, 1,400 that we sold for cash, 1,800 units that we sold for cash, and 1,200 units that we sold for cash. And then we're going to multiply them by the value of each one of those units. So the 1,200 we multiply by 12, 1400 is going to be multiplied by 13. 1800 is going to be multiplied by 10. And our 1200 is going to be multiplied by 11. Where are we getting these figures from? We're getting it straight from the cash sales from the question. So our credit sales here, taken straight from our credit sales from the question. Cash sales here, taken straight from our cash sales in the question. And then we're going to multiply them out. So 1200 multiplied by 12, 1400 multiplied by 13, 1800 multiplied by 10, and 1200 multiplied by 11. Now this is going to calculate the total. So how much did we sell? How many units do we sell for cash? And then what was the total amount of these units? How much were they worth? Okay, and now we're going to find the total amount in units that we sold. So, quick way of doing this, we're going to add up our units for our credit, and we're going to add up our units for our cash. So total sales was 11,100, and the value of that then we're going to add 63,500 and the 63,800, and that's going to give us the value of those total sales. So we've calculated our total purchases in units and the value of those total purchases, and we've calculated our total sales in units and the value of our total sales for those units. Next thing we need to do is look at our closing stock. So we're going to find out how many units we've left over after this period. So it's telling us in the question, we had opening stock of 5,000 units. Then we bought or we purchased units during the year, and we purchased 11,500. So the total amount of units we had is 5,000 plus 11,500. And then we sold some units throughout the year. So how many units did we sell? So we go back up here to our total units, which is 11,100. So if we sold them, then our units are going to reduce down, and our closing units then is going to be 16,500 minus 11,100. So the closing units is 5,000. So that's how many units we've left over at the end of the year. So we've 5,400 units sitting in our stock room, and the value of those 5,400 units are made up of 5, 6, and 7. So we just can't multiply this 5,400 by one figure because it's made up of different units that we bought at different prices. So now we have to find out what is the value of our closing stock, or what's the value of this 5,400. So the way we do that then, so we got 5,400. So if you look here, the last amount of stock that we bought in was 1,500. And that 1,500 was valued at €5 each. So the value of that is going to be 1,500 multiplied by €5, which is 7,500. So out of that 5,400, we have valued 1,500 units. So what we've left to value then is 3,900. So of that 3,900, 3,000 is valued at €6 each. So we put 3,000 multiplied by 6, 3,000 multiply that by 6, that's going to give us 18,000. So we've 3,000 now valued. So the amount of stock we've left to value is the difference between the 3,900 and the 300. So that's going to be 900. So that 900 then is valued at €7 each. So we're going up into the next bracket. So 900 multiplied by 7. It's going to give us 3,600. So now we have the value of all our stock. So we're going to add up the three amounts to get a figure for our closing stock, which will help us do our trading account. So 31,800 is the value of our closing stock. So how do we do our closing stock again? So first of all, we have to find out how much we have left in our stock room. So we took the opening stock from the question. We add the purchases of 11,500 that we calculated up here at the start to give us 16,500. Then we took away our sales that we calculated over here, which is 11,100. and that gave us closing stock of 5,400. Now, that 5,400 is made up of all of these purchases here. So if we take it first in, first out, so this 4,500 hopefully should have got rid of because it's first in, first out. So we're going to work upwards to see the value of this stock. What's it valued at? So the last purchases we made were of 1,500. So they will still be in our stock room. So €5 by 1,500. So we valued 1,500 of this 5,400. So we've 3,900 left of value. So the next one move up is 300. So of this 3,900, 300 is valued at €6. So 300 multiplied by 6. So we've 300 valued. So we've left the value 900. So that 900 is valued at €7. So our closing figure then is 31,800. So we have the figures now to do our trading account, or trading account for part 2. So we've got our purchase figure, 79,000. We've got our sales figure, 127,300. We've got our closing stock figure, 31,800. And our opening stock is going to be the 5,000 multiplied by €6.